Daniel chapter 7, verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters.
Okay, who is Belshazzar?
Nebuchadnezzar's son.
Right, Nebuchadnezzar's son. Okay. All right, verse 2.
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon this great sea.
Okay, and what's the four winds of the heaven? What's the great sea?
The great sea is the world of all the people.
Right, right. So now what's the
four
winds
winds
of the heaven?
is destruction, right?
No, it's not the destruction. When you read about the four winds, the Lord is telling them to hold back the four winds. The angels, the four winds are the angels of the Lord.
That's
it's
right.
The spirits of the Lord.
Yeah.
So the spirits of the Lord is what causes everything to go down on the earth.
Right.
They're behind everything, the good and the bad. Not that they're doing the bad, but they're the one that sets up everything. You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, without them, nothing is going on. They are the, what can I say? If you're in a movie, they are like the, directors? Yeah, they're like the directors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Lord is the one that, he's the producer. They're like the directors. Okay, so when Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the entire world. These spirits strove in, you know, like the Lord says, if his spirit was upon the face of the deep, these spirits are upon the face of this world, right?
Right. It's like the ones in the Revelation 7. It's those same spirits.
Exactly. Right, yeah.
Right, that's the same angels. That's why when you look up the word winds back there, it says spirits, right?
Right.
Right. That's what the wind is. The wind is when you feel the wind hitting your face, that's the Lord. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
The wind is your breath that's in your air. When you're blowing that's spirit.
Right.
The breath of life. You can't do that without the spirit in you. You can't blow that wind out of your mouth. You know what I'm saying? That's showing you the spirit is right there in the midst. You're in the midst of the spirit, or the spirit is in the midst of you. That's the breath of life. Okay, go ahead, read on.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 3. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Okay, so these four beasts that is getting ready to go into talk about, they came up out of the earth. When it says out, came up from the sea, they came out of the earth. Different one from another. Verse 4.
The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
All right, who's this first beast talking about?
First beast is talking about Babylon.
Okay, the lion with the eagle's wings. And what is it talking about when it says, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man?
They were given power.
Nah.
Is it talking about King Nebuchadnezzar becoming the king over Babylon?
No, it's not what it's talking about. Go over to the 5th chapter, Daniel 5. And start from verse 18.
Daniel chapter 5, verse 18. O thou king, the Most High God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, and majesty, and glory, and honor, And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom he would, he slew, and whom he would, he kept alive, and whom he would, he set up, and whom he would, he put down.
Right, he thought that was in his power. Just like man today think that that's in his power. Go ahead.
But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. Okay, I understand. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses.
Now this actually happened.
Yeah.
The Lord turned him into a beast.
For 7 years, right?
Made him look like a beast. Grew nails and hair, like feathers and stuff and everything. Right? And drove him away from the sons of men, and he was dwelling with the beast. Go ahead.
They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven. So he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will. So
the Lord did that until he acknowledged that the Lord is the king. And when he did, the Lord turned him back and gave him a heart of a man again. And then he came back and he was exalting the Lord. All right, but the Lord still took that kingdom away from him. All right, go ahead.
And thou his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thy heart, though thou knewest all this, but hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven. And they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified.
Okay, so the story goes a little deeper when you read up. It could tell you exactly what the Lord did with Nebuchadnezzar, more about turning him into that beast and about him giving him back the heart of a man again. All right, but let's go back over to Daniel 7. That's Daniel 7 and 4. So that's what it's talking about when he says, I beheld till the wings there were plucked. All right, till he acknowledged the Lord. All right, and the Lord turned him back into a man again. All right, and made to stand upon his feet as a man, and the man's heart was given back to him again. Verse 5.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
Okay, who is this beast talking about?
This beast is the Persians and the Medes.
All right, the Persians and the Medes. Okay, and what is it talking about when it says it raised itself up on one side?
Did the Persians overtake the Medes?
Right, the Persians rose up greater than the Medes. At first, the Media was the powerful kingdom, and when they joined forces with the Persians rose up more powerful than the Media. So that's what it means when it says it raised up itself on one side. And then it says, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it. You know what those 3 ribs in the mouth of it talking about?
Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt.
Right. Those 3 nations did the Persians and the Medes conquer. Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. Okay? To gain their superpowerdom. Well, that's what this class should be called. Superpowerdom.
Superpowerdom.
Right? Superpowerdom. Because that's what America is, a superpower. So there ain't nothing new under the sun. The same thing is going on. The same thing went on back then. Same thing is going on today.
And those 3 nations that they overtook, or what is that called again?
Babylon, Lydia, in Egypt. Continue verse 5.
And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
Right, so the Spirit of the Lord put the Spirit on him to arise, devour much flesh. It was their time to rule. And a superpower is the same thing as a nation that has dominion. That's superpower, to have dominion of the earth. Babylon was a superpower, dominion. Persians and the Medes was a superpower, dominion. Right, that's what the Lord is dealing with in the Bible. He's not dealing with those little small countries, even though they're written in the scriptures. But the main ones that he's dealing with is those ones that had the influence over the world, Satan's influence. All right, the superpowers. Okay, verse 6.
After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Okay, so who is this talking about?
Alexander.
All right. Which is the king of what?
Greece.
King of Greece. Okay. And what does those 4 wings of a fowl represent? It says he was like a leopard which had upon the back 4 wings of a fowl. And the beast also had 4 heads.
The generals that took over at Alexander.
Right, the 4 generals that took over Alexander, that's what the 4 wings of a fowl and the 4 heads represent. Those 4 generals.
Okay.
All right, and when it's calling them heads, okay, they were just as comparable as those 3 heads, all right, that was before them. So, and they had dominion. So, Babylon, the Persians and the Medes is 2, okay. Greece would have been 3, but no, it changed into 4 heads. So, now you got 4 plus 2 equals 6, right? And then who was the last 7 head? Remember in Revelations 13 where we went over last conference when we said the beast rose up out of the sea having 7 heads and 10 horns?
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Rome would be the last head. You understand?
Right, because they came after. They came after, right before America.
So if you're wondering where the 7 heads are, this is it right here. 4 of them, all right, is dealing with the Greeks. The other 2 before them was Babylon and the Persians and the Medes. And then Rome came after the Greeks, which makes the 7 heads. And dominion, showing you again, in the bottom of 6, and dominion was given unto the Greeks. I mean, world dominion. By the time of Christ, you know what I'm saying, it was called the Greco-Roman Empire. All right, as it was emerging from the Greeks into the hands of the Romans, all right, it was called the Greco-Roman Empire, and the Greeks had named everything. All the lands was named after the Greeks. The Bible was written in Greek. The language, the world language was like the Greek. What's the world language now?
English.
Why is English considered the world language?
Because this is it. This is English is where they want to be. So to come here, their first thing was you got to learning their language, knowing how they speak.
Because America is the rulers of the world. You understand? If you want to have any status, you got to speak their language. That's how it's always been. Okay. All right, verse 7.
After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Okay. Who was that talking about?
Rome.
Right, the Roman Empire. The same empire that was ruling during the time of Christ. The Roman Empire. All right? And what does it mean it stamped the residue with the feet of it? Who is the residue that they stamped with their feet?
Israel.
Right, the Israelites.
Oh, okay.
Talking about the saints. And why is it saying they did it with their feet? Because when you go back to the statue in chapter 2, what part of the body did the Romans start it with?
The legs.
With the legs, right? And that would be in verse what? Daniel 2, verse what?
34. 32. 34. 32.
32.
Yeah.
32. Read that, Daniel chapter 2, verse 32.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 32. This image's head was of fine gold. His breast and...
So what does that head represent that was fine gold?
Babylon.
Go ahead.
His breast and his arms of silver.
Who was that?
Persians and the Medes.
Go ahead.
His belly and his thighs of brass.
Who was that?
The Greeks.
Okay, go ahead.
His legs of iron. His feet part of iron and part of clay.
So when it says he stamped the residue with his feet, all right, what does the feet represent when it says his feet were part of iron and part of clay?
The Roman Empire being split.
It's being split, but what part of the Roman Empire is that that's down there in the feet and the toes?
America.
Okay, and what does that split represent, or that iron and that clay represent?
The mingling. The mingling of nations. Of people.
Right, the mingling of the people and the nations that are in this country. All right? The diversity that you got going on in this country. And the division that you got going down from the diversity that's in this country. All right, but the legs of iron was the beginning of the Roman Empire when you read about the Holy Roman Empire and with Constantine and all of them that was putting forth Christianity and killing all the saints up and forming that abomination of desolation. That was iron. So now that iron is still here, but it's mixed with clay, then it got weak. Right? Okay, so now at the top of verse 32 down to the bottom of down to the top of 33 where it's talking about the legs of the Roman Empire. What is it showing with the image going from gold down into iron and clay?
The value.
The value and the depreciation of the world.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Back in the Babylon, it was like fine gold. Now everything, the depreciation and the value, the world is like destroyed. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
And Rome had a lot to do with that, destroying the world. Right?
Abused it.
Yeah, Satan going around like a mad child, just destroying the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Destroying God's creation. All right, and read 34.
Daniel 2, verse 34. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them in pieces.
And who is this stone?
That's Christ.
Mm-hmm. All right, and he smote the image where?
In the feet, which was of iron and clay.
Okay, and then that represents what? Him striking the feet, which was made out of iron and clay.
That represents America. That's going to be America's destruction.
And that's going to be the destruction of who when America is destroyed?
Satan.
Satan. So that means all those beasts that was carrying the spirit of Satan are going to be broken to pieces altogether. All right, when Christ breaks America down, then the whole statue is going to fall down because America is carrying, that image. the image of all of those dominions. All right, so now let's go back over to Daniel 7.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
So a lot of times when it's talking about this Roman Empire, it's including all of the different parts of the history of Rome. So when you read about it, it's not just talking about America. It's talking about Rome before it was known as America. And then it's showing you in the same breath America's history too. So you got to consider that and understand that it's talking about Rome before it fell and Rome after that deadly wound was healed. That's what it's talking about right here in verse 7, both. Right? So it's showing you that it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. Why is America diverse from the beast that was before it?
Is it because of all the different people that's in America?
That's one thing, yeah.
The customs, all the customs, like the way, like we spoke before, like the way they how Rome occupied Jerusalem was hostile towards the subjects, the sporting coliseums, the slavery, all of that.
Okay, but now the only thing I'm talking about this part of Rome, which is America, and why is America different from the rest of the beast that was before it? Okay, because that was a good one when the brother brought in saying because of the different nationalities that you have here. That's one, you know. And another one is that all of those nations before it, okay, including the 10 horns, which we're going to go into, right? They had a monarchy. You know what I'm saying? They had kings. America, they didn't have no king. It's like the United States of America. It's like a corporation. It's not like a kingship. You know what I'm saying? Even Britain, even Spain, even France. Okay, because those are the Britain, France, and Spain are the three rivals of America, just like we just read in Babylon. Persians and the Medes took down Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. All right? America had to take down 3 that was in the race for Superpowerdom. Okay? And if they wouldn't have took them out, they wouldn't have become a superpower. So they had to take down those 3 first. Okay? And that's what American history comes in for you to understand that you have to understand the American history, a little bit of American history.
Right.
All right? So this guy was trying to divert everybody to back there in the middle, the medieval times when he's talking about the Ostrogoths and the Herules and all that, but it's not talking about them. The 10 heads is not talking about them. You know? But all these 10 heads, they all derive from Europe, from that same Dark Ages, Holy Roman Empire, okay, all the way up, okay, into the American establishment. All right, so we're going to go into the scriptures and prove that. Okay, so read verse 8.
Hey, Yash, could you back up a little bit for me?
Yeah.
When you were saying the American history, you said the British and who else now?
Yeah, America had to take down the British, the Spanish, and the French. They were in the race.
Yeah.
All right, for world dominion. Each one of those countries was in the race for world dominion. So when the Revolutionary War took place, okay, which Britain was the superpower at that time, and America took them out of position. But before America took the British out of position, there was a war between the British and the French. It was called a 7-year war. okay, and the British was allied with Prussia and Portugal, and the French was allied with Spain, Russia, Sweden, and Austria when they had that 7-year war. All right, that war ended in 1763, and then 12 years after that was the Revolutionary War. So when Britain and America went into the Revolutionary War, when the American colonies were revolting against Britain, the Spain and France were in aid to the American colonies because they wanted to try to get a hold back on to their territories that Britain took from them when they had that 7-year war. You know what I'm saying? So they aided America, all right, to win this war with the Brits. All right, and America won that war, and then that's where America became the superpower. So that's that horn, that little horn. Okay, that little horn that came out of that Holy Roman Empire, which is America, that took down 3 kings, all right, before it got that power. And those 3 kings that it took down before it got that power was the British, the French, and the Spanish. Okay, so let's read Daniel 7 and 8 now.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 8.
It's talking about the horns here. Go ahead.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man. In this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Right, so those 3 horns that were plucked up, all right, by the roots was the British, the Spanish, and the French. Okay, and then when it says, behold, in this horn, talking about America, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, okay, what does the eyes represent?
Is the gateway. The eyes
is the gateway to the what?
To the soul. The eyes is
right.
To the mind.
Right, to the soul, to the spirit, to the soul. So if he has the eyes of man, what kind of spirit does he have? That should be easy.
It's the spirit of Satan.
Right, he got the spirit of Satan. He got the carnal, mortal mind.
Carnal.
Yeah, that's the fleshly spirit. Very carnal, very fleshly. Wisdom, it represents wisdom too. The eyes represents wisdom, but his wisdom is the wisdom of man. Very carnal. So that's what it's talking about when it says, behold, in this horn were the eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. This is talking about America. Okay? And a mouth speaking great things. Right? So let's go to a couple of precepts. All right, so go to Daniel 7:25.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time, and the dividing of times.
Right, so this shall be given into his hand. So that they run around thinking that they're trying to count 1,203 score days, like this guy said, and each day represents a year. So he tries to add up the years and say that time was over back there in the medieval times. No, we understand that 3.5 years represents the other half of time, from the time that Christ was crucified all the way to the end of the world. Okay? Right. That's the dividing of times, right? So this time and times and a half of time is talking about the time from Christ being crucified all the way to the end of the world. This power is going to be given in his hand all the way into the end of the world. Okay? All right, also go over to Daniel 11:36.
Daniel chapter 11, verse 36. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done.
And what does it mean he shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished? When will the indignation be accomplished?
Christ's return.
When his behind is thrown in the lake of fire.
Right.
All right? So that's what it's talking about. He shall prosper until the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Like the same thing it says in Daniel 9:27. Go to Daniel 9:27.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
That's another scripture that come to mind when you're saying that is when he know he only have a short time. So I'm not quoting it all the way, but when the scripture was Satan coming down with wrath on the earth because he know he only have a short time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what come to mind when what's being said right now.
Right. Yeah, the devil knows that he has but a short time. He knows that, so he just out to destroy. Because he know that there's a time that he has to go. That's proven when those demons told Christ, "Are you coming to cast us out or to destroy us before our time?"
Right.
When those demons were in the man, and the Lord cast the demons out of the man and sent them into the flock of pigs.
Right.
Right. So they know that they have a time that they're going to be destroyed. Satan knows that, and he knows that the time is getting short. He doesn't let the people that's working for him know that, because he's about destruction. He's about himself. He's not about anybody. He doesn't love anybody. He doesn't care about anybody. He's totally selfish spirit. So the people that's working for him, he doesn't have no love for them. You know what I'm saying? He got them thinking that they got a chance, but he knows that they don't. He's leading them to on a road of destruction. So he just planned it as far as he can go. You know, just like a person that's in jail and waiting for the death penalty, so they're gonna live it up. You know what I'm saying, until that time comes, because they know that I have no other choice.
Right. This
right?
is it.
Right.
Like this. What else? I got you. You can't punish me no more. I already know what my end gonna be. So I'm gonna, like you say, live it up.
Right. There's no turning back. There's no repentance for him. You know what I'm saying? He can't turn back. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have the spirit to turn back, and if he can't turn back. You know? Okay, so go to Daniel 9:27 and read that.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week.
Stop right there. See, this is the part that these so-called scholars, and they call themselves interpreting the Bible, they don't understand that it has to be given to you by the Spirit of the Lord.
Right.
This is spiritual, because what does the 7 weeks represent? I mean, I'm sorry, not 7 weeks. I said 7 weeks. What does that 1 week, that 7 days represent there?
It's representing Christ and his elect's time preaching. Christ is the first 3.5 days of the week, and ours is the last 3.5 days of the week.
Right. So now this 1 week that's left is the 1 week that's left from the 70 weeks. Remember, it was 69, and you had 1 week left, which is
right.
That 1 week represents 7 years. And that 7 years represents 3.5 plus 3.5. 3.5 that Christ walked the earth, he was crucified, and the other 3.5, which talks about the 42 weeks or 1,203 score days, which is 3.5 years, or a time and times and a dividing of times, which is 3.5 years. It's talking about the rest of the time from Christ and all the way to the end of the world. It's talking about his elect from the crucifixion of Christ to the end of the world. That's talking about his elect. In other words, they're going to be doing the same thing that he did through the Holy Spirit. So they don't understand that. So all they can do is try to do the best they can and breaking it down by saying, okay, so 1,203 score days, We know that the Bible make that a day represents a year, so then they go to add it up and they're trying to figure out the prophecy. All right? So when it says the Lord shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, those many is talking about his elect. Go ahead.
And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease.
Stop.
And for the
so what is that talking about?
This is when he's going to put the old law of Moses and nail that to the cross.
No. In the midst of the week.
Oh,
in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. What is that talking about?
It's crucifixion.
Right, Christ's crucifixion. Christ is the sacrifice. He's the oblation. When it shall cause him to cease, meaning he's going to be crucified.
Right.
All right. In the midst of 1 week, meaning he walked a half of that week. The middle of the week, 3.5. He shall cease. All right. And go ahead.
And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate.
Stop. So now that Christ went to the cross, what happened? What started overspreading?
The abomination of desolation.
Right, the abomination of desolation. That's why it says he shall make it desolate. And Paul spoke about that in 2 Thessalonians, remember? And to check the 2 Thessalonians when he says, remember I told you, you know what I'm saying, these things. Or he said that now you know what withholdeth. You know what I'm saying? That he may be revealed in his time. But he says the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. It was working already from the time of Paul.
Mm-hmm.
All right? It was already overspreading from that time. So go ahead. And when is this abomination of desolation going to end? Go ahead.
Even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
Right. So now, even until the consummation, that means, consummation, that word comes from consume, the fire. You know what I'm saying? When this man going to be thrown into the lake of fire. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Who is the desolate there that it's talking about?
Satan.
What does it say there, though?
The desolator.
The desolator, which is Satan. All right, so now let's go back to where we was at. And so read that Daniel 11 again, and you see the same thing he said about what's determined. Showing you that it's talking about all the way to the end of the world. Okay, not in no midst of the medieval times that this 1,203 score days is talking about, 1,260 days. No, it's talking about to the end of the world, until the consummation, which is determined.
All right, Daniel chapter 11, verse 36. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done.
Okay. And also 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So in other words, what it's talking about, when him getting the power over the saints and stamping the residue with his feet, it's talking about in the church. You know what I'm saying? How he overspread those abominations, all right, throughout the world with Christianity. America is responsible for that. Okay? Spreading it worldwide. Yeah, we know where it started at with the papacy and the Roman Catholic Church, but who was the world influence to spread it worldwide?
America.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so read that 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
Right. So that's what, you see the pastors and stuff in the church and stuff like that. That's what you got going on, not just Roman Catholic, but all of the Christian denominations that spread worldwide. All right, and then Go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2.
2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy.
You can stop there. It goes on and on, but you know that America is the one that pushes that attribute, those attributes in the world.
Right.
Okay? America is the reason why you got children disobedient to parents, why you got the families all broken up, why you got black families that only have mothers and no fathers and stuff. America is the ones that's cause of that. People are boasters and proud through television and through the
proud
media,
and arrogant,
through Hollywood, and through all of those different things. Okay, that's how these attributes got out into the world. So it's showing you that he is the culprit. Right? All right. So now go back to Daniel 7. So that's what it's talking about in Daniel 7 and 8 at the bottom, where it says, "In this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things." Blasphemies, total blasphemies, continuous blasphemies. Verse 9.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire.
Okay, so Daniel said he beheld this vision until, all right, the thrones were cast down. Meaning all of the world powers were cast down. And who's going to be sitting then? Christ is going to be sitting. All right? Verse 10.
A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened.
Okay, so that's Christ and his elect, right? Verse 11.
I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame.
And that's the consummation, right? Verse 12.
As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
So the rest of the beasts had their dominion taken away, like Babylon, Persians and the Medes and Greek. They had their dominions taken away, but they were prolonged for a season and a time. You know what I'm saying? They ain't destroyed. They still existing on this earth, but they ain't world powers. So that's what it's talking about concerning them. They had their dominion taken away, yet the Lord prolonged their lives for a season. Verse 13.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory, and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the four beasts, which was diverse from all the others. Verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell. even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Okay, so remember the three that fell, before whom three fell. That horn that came up, all right, was America. Those three that fell was British, French, and Spanish. British, France, and Spain. Okay? United Kingdom, France, and Spain. All right? And that little horn that came up was America. And then when it says who look was more stout than his fellows, meaning that he was greater than his fellows. He was more greater than any of those other 10 horns. This little horn was America, more stout than his fellows. Go ahead.
I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them.
So when it says he made war with the saints, what kind of war is this?
This spiritual.
The spiritual war. So how did he make war with the saints?
With the false doctrines and all the blasphemies.
Right. That's how he made war with the saints, by spreading those lies. All right, and he prevailed. Right, it looks like, he's winning right now.
Mm-hmm.
Until when? Verse 22.
Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
That's another thing that makes him different from all the other kingdoms. Nobody destroyed the earth like this guy did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And just break it all down and devour it and destroy it. All right? Because of greed and wickedness. 24.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are the 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
So that's America coming out of there. Okay? That's America. Remember the Roman Empire? Okay?
Yep.
And it formed into America through those 10 horns that it had. And out of them 10 horns, that one little horn that was more stout than the rest of his fellows, all right, was talking about America. And he was going to subdue 3 kings before he came up for a superpowerdom, dominion. All right? All right, go ahead. Read verse 25.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times.
So he's changing times and laws. Every time he's ready to change a law, he just rewrites everything. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Makes amendments, change this, change that, going further and further away, all right, from the book, from the Bible, from God. All right, and times, he changed times. All right, and the Lord gave that into his hands for times and times and dividing of time to the end of the world. 26.
But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and destroy it until the end. And the kingdom and dominion, and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven, shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations.
Yeah.
Cogitations.
Thoughts. That's my thoughts.
Okay. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations must trouble me, and my countenance changed in me. But I kept the matter in my heart.
Okay.